Hi, I'm Raj Kumar, President and Editor-in-Chief of Devex, here once again in Brussels at European Development Days with Pascal Canfin, who is of course the Minister for International Development in France. And thank you for joining us, for spending a few minutes with us. We wanted to ask you, you're here at European Development Days, and you're a relatively new minister with a relatively recent government in France.
Is relative, you know?
Right. So tell us what is new in French international development cooperation. What are the new things that you've been putting forward?
Well, I've been in charge of this policy for 18 months, so it's not brand new.
Right.
So I start to have a background on this issue, and a couple of things on which I would like to put this stress on. The first one is transparency. You know, it's true that France was lacking behind in terms of transparency for the ODA and for its development policy. So that's why we put the focus on that. And for the first time in Mali, and you know that Mali is very important and significant for us and for the whole European Union, we decided to put on a website all the projects we are financing, and it will be true for the next 2 years. So each and every project financed by French taxpayers' money will be on this website and can be controlled and followed both by the French taxpayers, but also, and it's more important, by the Malian citizens.
So they know what's happening in their
Exactly, in order to decentralize the control of the efficiency of ODA. So it's in order to improve the ownership of ODA projects. So that's the kind of things we didn't do before, and what we decided to do is, first of all, in Mali, and in 2014 it will be copy-paste in 16 countries in Africa. So we are improving on this key issue of transparency.
I know you're a former reporter, so you care a lot about transparency.
Maybe.
Why do you think transparency has been so difficult to achieve in the international development sector in general? It has been a challenge not just for France, but for many countries. Why?
Well, there are always obstacles in terms of bureaucracy. So you need the political impetus in order to overcome that obstacles. And then it's also because the ODA family, the ODA people are more focused on the input, on the means, than on the output. Of course, if you want to have output, you need to have inputs, including financial inputs. But we need to focus more and more and more in the future on outputs. For instance, France, we were the first one to finance the trust fund of the World Bank, dedicated to the negotiation of contracts in extractive industries, in order to balance the term of the contracts between the states and the companies.
Sure.
So it's a trust fund to help states, governments, to hire counselors, lawyers,
right,
and so on, to have a more equitable, fair deal at the end. When we put a couple of millions in that, the output, so that's the input, the output could be more than hundreds of millions. So that's interesting also to work on the leverage effect of ODA and to try to optimize this leverage effect. It's a sort of new thinking in terms of ODA, to think about what is the best possible output and how to deliver this output, even if it's not a lot of input money in terms of money, and maybe because it is not too much in terms of financial input.
Because we're in this critical moment where financial resources are not going up. For many countries, they may be going down a bit. What is the picture for France? Do you expect foreign aid budgets to stay
it's
stable?
0.45, and next year 0.46, and next year 0.47. So it's stable, stable. And you know, we made a pool, and last year more than 80% of French people were supportive of a stability or of an increase in our ODA, 80%. Now it's still vast majority, but it's 68%. So it's more than 10 points less. So it means that if this trend continues, in 2 years' time, there will be a minority of French people for the first time ever. So it means we have to be cautious. We, of course, have to sell this policy in terms of value, in terms of solidarity, but we also have to sell it if I may say so, in terms of interest. It is our interest, our developed countries' interest, to be really involved in these development policies, because there is no security without development.
Right.
There is no stability without development.
Okay, so
so
Mali
that's
is
why
a good
exactly,
recent
or
example for
some traffic today. So that's why we connect the two issues of security and development to say, well, it is our interest and our values, or our values and our interest, to stay committed to this issue, to this policy, even if we have our own budgetary constraints.
Sure. Well, and those budgetary constraints are across Europe, so I want to get one final question to you, which is about your message to the European Commission. Here at Europe Aid, at the European Development Days put on by Europe Aid, what would you like to see them do differently?
Well, the first thing is to sell the fact that we are going to spend 27 billion euros in the next 7 years. 27 billion euros. So people in Europe have to know first that we have this commitment and we can be proud of it, but what are we going to do with that? And again, it is maybe to be more focused, more transparent on the results, on the output. So that would be my first message to Aid. It is the first message I convey each time I meet the Commissioner. And the second one is, again, transparency and the fact that people have to know what we are doing with our taxpayer money.
Right.
It's a question of legitimacy, it's a question of efficiency.
Well, these are important themes that we will continue to cover at Devex. Thank you so much, Minister, for spending a few minutes with us. Thank you.
Bye-bye.